All right, welcome back to Boy Meets Girl. We are on week 3, and week 3 is, I think, one of the most important weeks that we'll have in this series, and here's why. We're talking to people that are single. And when we say single, what we mean is not married. So some of you might be like, I'm not single, I'm dating. No. Just single is unmarried. Through a biblical definition, you were either married or you weren't, right? So if you're not married, I think this is a really important week because here's what's happened culturally with this idea of marriage and love that's God's design, is we've monetized it. And here's what I mean. When you turn on advertising, when you look in a magazine, when you look at a movie, when you look at a TV commercial, our culture loves to sell us love. And so this week we're looking at a scripture that calls us not to worship idols. Here's what our culture's done with love, is they've turned it into an idol because our culture knows that we will spend money on the things that we idolize. And so if you're single, you can't help but get constant messages from the world that tell you that you need to have love. Even if it's just like some casual sex, they want to say you need to be in relationship with people. Don't be alone. God says that it's not good for man to be alone, so he created woman. But here's also what God says. Marriage is not the ultimate point of your life. The ultimate point of your life, the finish line of all of our lives, is to worship God with everything that we have and to obey him, right? And so if you're single, it's mission over mate. Your priority doesn't have to be to find a mate, right? God's actually set all of us free from that. Your priority is to worship God. So listen, how do we worship God in a culture that screams at us to worship love? It's a really hard balance, right? Because it can sound so good to make love our ultimate goal. So what does it look like to be single and to obey Jesus? What does it look like when you're in the minority in the way a lot of churches speak to people? What does it look like when marriage sermons don't necessarily connect with you? Maybe last week even you're like, can I just leave? I'm not married. I want to go home. How do we live a life as singles that glorifies God? Here's the great news. We have a good model for it in Scripture. Paul was single and he wrote most of the New Testament. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig into what Scripture says about singleness and faith. And so this week, I want us to be authentic in how we look at singleness and faith. Married people, don't think I forgot about you. This is another one. Don't check out, and here's why. If there's singles in the church, guess who's not exempt from building relationships with them? You. How are you as married couples not overlooking people that are single or people that don't have kids? How are you building community and family with those who maybe don't have a family? This is for you too. So what does it look like for us to be a church that allows everyone to thrive as they pursue Jesus, whether they're married or single? Have a great time this week, and I want you to really stretch and think about what it looks like to be single and obedient to Jesus.